Welcome to the Iron 3 and LEC post-game lobby. Oh my word, I love that. Thank you so much, Drakos. I'm joined here by Frosk, and we will be getting Broxah and Reckless in just a second as they'll be making their way over and getting mic'd up. Frosco, what a game.
Yeah, just to quote Drakos, we had Soraka top, G2 are like, we've got it in the bag. Fnatic were like, hold my beer. Locked in Garen, had a cat on top of it. That was the missing link. It was the Yuumi, clearly.
It was absolutely, but listen, why is it Vitality keeps drawing the Garen stroll? The two times we've seen it, it's against Vitality. Look, we do have a whole bunch of clips that I do want to bring up on screen and just talk about it a little bit because I loved hearing Ender, VODS, and Drakos, like, figuring out the nuances of everything. I just
want to say, every time I bring up the car analogy, I always get flamed for it. But that's exactly what this is. You put Yuumi onto Garrett, you put the zoomies around, and Drakos, Ender, VODS, they all talked about it. You could never catch him. Like, Volibear is going to sprint at Garen, but when would you actually ever be able to catch him? He just runs away from you.
Despite the chaos of the early game when I started getting nervous, as the map opened up a little bit and the mobility and the 5th and 6th gear was found for Fnatic, this Garen pick just worked. But I think, I can't remember if it was VODS or Ender mentioned that it's kind of a replacement for Karma. It's just another supportive tech to enable the rest of the team.
What I think is also really great about the pick, and specifically how like Reckless pilots champions in general, he's actually really good at playing weak side, so when he doesn't have Broxah attention. Now, I really want to go back and see if he held the wave there when kind of the initial kills come in for Vitality that start punishing him. But Garen allows you to like absorb health, so you can walk into waves, you can take it up, freeze it where you want, and then go back and heal yourself back up and kind of get ready to fight again. And I just think that's kind of like an interesting maneuver that really plays into things that Reckless is very good at, which is his wave management down the bot lane.
Oh man, and really just reliable late game team fights, understanding
Did you just
how
say
to play
reliable late game team fights for Garen?
No, for Reckless.
Okay.
For Reckless, as a player, you know? And we're looking at his pro view right now. I just cannot believe we live in a world where Annie top, Soraka top, Garen bots are actual legitimate things, and it makes me excited for how the game is evolving because it's fun to watch, and it feels like my game's back home in Iron 3.
I don't think it feels too fun for Yamato right now, who I feel like really did kick it off with play your style, because we were getting a lot of different styles and a lot of different flavors in the LEC. And it is very exciting. It's enjoyable to watch. Unfortunately, not for Vitality this time around.
Yeah, exactly the case. Look, Vitality, they end the week 7 wins and 9 losses. I just want to give you guys an update that we will be switching over to twitch.tv/LEC in just a few minutes. So while the LCS is getting ready to start, they will take over this stream here at twitch.tv/Riot Games. If you're using the watch.lol esports platform, you will be able to continue just watching the game as it were. But I mean, that tells the story of a game, right? Around 3K deficit at about 15 minutes, starts to get clawed back, and eventually 11,000 gold as the Garen Master himself joins us. Reckless and Broxah, welcome to Postgame Lobby.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the win. When did you decide you were going to play Garen?
We have practiced Gary Yuumi for like a month, but that was the past month. So it basically wasn't something that we had ready, but the opportunity presented itself. And then we kind of figured, like, even though it was a while since we practiced it, we probably still kind of knew how to execute it in the later stages at least. So even if early would be rough because I wouldn't know the matchup properly, at least we would, you know, execute the Yuumi gameplay later.
Can I ask what triggered pulling the trigger on Garen and picking it? Was it the Volibear pick? Is this something that you specifically have for that matchup? You don't have to give away strategies twice.
No, I think just AD carries aren't necessarily like the mount Yuumi wants. Yuumi is more about dealing the damage herself and just wants someone that doesn't get her killed. And I feel like AD carry is usually the one that gets targeted, which makes her get killed. So it's just nice to have a Garen because he can't really die. And you don't really need his damage, so he's just running around setting up Yuumi for her own stuff.
So he's basically like a delivery service.
Yeah.
I actually have a stat for you, by the way. 792 damage per minute is what Hylissang was dealing as Yuumi. So it just really puts some like numbers to the playstyle. Broxah, how does it change your playstyle when you have a Garen Yuumi bot lane and obviously coordinating with your team as the game plays out?
I actually feel like Garen fits the playstyle we've been having the split pretty well. It works a bit similarly to the Karma in the sense that he's very fine on his own, and he just chills in the bot lane and he doesn't really need any resources, which means that I can give Bwibo some love without my bot lane struggling because of it. Obviously, bot lane. I believe got dove at one point and things didn't really go according to the plan.
I
mean, I kind of died 2v2, but level 1 was really tough for me.
But the idea is the same as the Karma, and in that sense, I think it fits our playstyle pretty well.
Did you guys absolutely know that Vitality were at your red buff? Because as you guys started moving from the try over,
yeah,
very
I
premeditated.
placed the sneaky ward on ramp, level 1, which they probably wouldn't get with the sweeper, but I think they got it the second time they swept, so... We knew, but I also think they knew that we were going to come for them, so they were ready to fight. And I feel like if I had another champion there, it would be nice, but for the rest of the game, I was happy with the Garen. It's just that level 1 wasn't the greatest, because I knew I had to take one for the team, and it's not usually a role I play, so it was...
It was pretty interesting, because we sat in the tri-bush, and we were discussing, like, okay, how are we going to go about this? And we were not even sure how strong exactly Garen was going to be going into it, right? So we were kind of quickly, theory crafting how we were going to go about it, but... worked out okay-ish.
Yeah, 2 for 2 in the level 1, then a couple of shenanigans bot lane, but you managed to pick it up. Just to announce, Spin to win the Kia player of the game, so I think nobody's surprised, is Reckless on Garen. The fans of, I loved watching
That's actually brutal to Hilly. Like, you definitely were the delivery service there, but Hilly was doing so much damage.
Yep.
And so was the rest of the team, of course. So really working out. I mean, Bwipo and Jace did a really good job. Look, it was a lot of fun. We will be heading to an ad break in just a moment. Before we do, though, I do want to get some comments as we're still on the main stream, and a lot of LCS viewers will be chiming in. Fnatic versus Splice at the top of the table, 12-4 next weekend. It's a little extra pressure on you guys to win, because you need to win versus Splice, and then you need to win your second matchup on day 2 against Rogue to take that second seed. If Splice lose, then you guys take that advantage. So how does it feel knowing you're battling for the buy and it's so close to a guaranteed showdown in Athens, Broxah?
It's really exciting because I feel like we were in a pretty similar position last split. I remember last split on the last day, I believe we won our game and Origin won their game as well. But if they lost, we would have gotten that top 2. And now it's the same thing where all games actually matter a lot, and it just makes the last 2 games really nerve-wracking and really exciting, because getting that top 2 spot is so important.
What's it like in terms of internal confidence? Like, you guys are looking at Splice probably in the best form, but expectations, pressure, it's always going to be on Fnatic members. I know the magnifying glass and microscope feels like it's really on top of you. Do you guys feel that this is free, or is it like one game at a time that the pressure's there?
For me, it's, I guess, something we have always kind of had in Fnatic. Like, I feel like we always have a lot of pressure to perform, so if anything, it might be harder for them than for us, because I think we just kind of have this daily, so maybe for them it's a very different situation, because usually Splice is like the 5th or 6th team maybe, but this time around they're actually like at the top, so it's a new setting for them. Meanwhile, for us, it's just another split, right?
Reckless, you've played against Splice and many of the iterations of Splice, and as far as many of the broadcasters are concerned, this is the best that Splice has looked in many years. How big of a contender are they for the final? Because it feels like it's G2 Fnatic Splice right now. Is that fair?
I think that's fair, yeah.
And how difficult is this matchup going to be against Kobbe next week? Because he seems to be on fire right now.
I mean, their games go really late, and he always plays an AD carry with 4 tanks or 4 supports around him, so I respect him for, pulling it off, but I'm not necessarily like scared of the laning phase or anything. I think he's more of a farm for late kind of guy, which I think is perfectly fine with our playstyle. Like, we don't really play around me anyways. I mean, I don't even play the carries, so
yeah.
It's completely fine that they want to play around bots. I will just let my top laner carry me, or jungler or mid, or wherever feels up for it.
I was going to say, it's very different responsibilities, what Kobbe does for Splice versus what Reckless has been doing for Fnatic. Kind of same question, Broxah, looking across Xerxes. We talk all the time, Xerxes, a very cerebral jungler. I think Vedi has said it that, like, if Xerxes is the brain, you're the brawn. Do you feel that is accurate, or do you think that you've been misrepresented? Are you afraid of Xerxes?
I am definitely not afraid of him, but I do think he's a really good jungler, and I think right now it's me, Xerxes, and Jankos battling for the top spot.
I think everyone agrees with that.
And yeah, I don't really know about the brain part necessarily. One of the things that I've done going into the split on purpose has been to change up my playstyle a lot. Even just comparing to Spring, the way I play now is like night and day almost. And yeah, it's just one of the things that me and the coaches agreed on, that we were going to test coming into summer and felt could be beneficial for the team, that I go for a bit more of an aggressive and sacrificial style in a way.
I am very sorry to cut you off. We will continue this discussion. We do need to take a short break. The LEC post-game lobby with Frosk, Reckless, and as well as myself and Broxer will continue. Twitch.tv/LEC. Now, over on Twitch.tv/Riot Games, it is time for the LCS countdown with the quarterfinal between TSM and Clutch. Be sure to tune in to Twitch.tv for more on the race for playoffs, strange picks, and some big plays. We've seen Garen, bot lane, Soraka, top lane. LCS, what have you got? Frost, Gurin. Thank you so much for sticking with us, and thank you to everybody that's swapped streams as well. We're not under such time pressure now, so I can actually feel a little bit more relaxed. There is something I do want to ask Reckless, though, because you said something in the build-up that you don't even play AD carries anymore. And for a player of your stature and experience, does it bother you? Does it suck that you don't play AD carries anymore, from your own opinion?
I mean, from a branding point of view, it feels like it's a good thing because a lot of people complain about my champion pool, which I don't agree with, but it's been the case for a long time now. So I guess it's good that I show off some champions that other people don't play or that I haven't played before, so the meme can kind of die. But it kind of bothers me because I would like my team to be the team that can play anything, sort of like G2, where they just put a draft together and everyone already knows what to do, like regardless of how the draft is. So it doesn't have to be always for top or always for mid or always for bot. It's just the strength of the draft, and then every day can be different. But I feel like for our team, it's like we kind of need our champions and need to play a very specific way for it to work. And I think that might be the downfall in the end for us. So it's kind of what happened last year. I mean, at Worlds, where we were like so focused around playing on mid, and then we played against Rookie, and it couldn't really happen anymore. But then imagine we're a team that can do everything, like G2, where we could change up the game plan depending on the team we play against. I would like that to be the case.
Kind of that finish line or that ultimate level Fnatic where you guys can play anything like G2, is that just gated by time, or do you think it's gated by this iteration of Fnatic, these players, these personalities, how it all fits together? Or is there a 2020 or even hopefully Worlds distant future where Fnatic are able to play the hyper carry Reckless, the hyper carry Brox, the hyper carry Nemesis?
I think it's player related. I think, for example, G2 Strength is also player related. I don't think it's like they built this up over time. I think they just got together and then they realized that they're all the same person, but on different roles, so it works perfectly. So I don't really think you can fix it, but I would like us to have some sort of like compromise, or at least be ready for the idea that people might attack us on our game plan, on our specific champions, so we don't just like, okay, they banned 1 or 2 champions on a role and then that's it, right? I don't want it to die there because I want us to be better than that. And I feel like last year that was our downfall, in Spring Split that was our downfall, and now it's like we're here once again where we play these very, very specific champions, and I'm just scared that we go into a playoff game, doesn't really matter who we go up against, and they figure out what they need to do, and then we lose when we're still the better team. It's just because we don't have the champion pools.
Brox, is that something that you and the players talk about, you know, off air, discuss it, and how do you prepare to not be taken down by your own strengths and weaknesses?
I think it's something that's really important to look at in general, no matter what team you are. Like even G2 has their own weaknesses, right? And for us, it's just important that we don't become too predictable. I think, despite what Martin is saying today, we've shown that we're not always predictable. I don't think anyone expected a reckless Garen to come out, and even in the recent weeks, and especially comparing to the past, this guy right here has been pulling out some interesting champions, and has been taking an entirely different role than he ever has, at least in my time in Fnatic. I just think it's important to find a pretty good balance, or at least be aware that we do certain things a lot, and we need to be ready for other teams to potentially punish us, and then have other strategies ready.
I really appreciate your guys' candid responses. I think it speaks to a lot of honesty and fluency between the teams. Yeah. Specifically to you, Broxa, we've been talking about how your jungle playstyle has really almost defined this Fnatic playstyle, and it feels like, Reckless is saying that you guys are really locked into it. Do you agree with that? And how would you actually define your jungle playstyle and its strengths and weaknesses?
I think my jungle playstyle has changed a lot this split. I don't think I've ever played fully by the book and done like fully standard jungle pathings, but I think this split has changed a lot in terms of I know that many don't consider me a smart jungler right now because many of the plays I do are really aggressive and really sacrificial. Like I put a lot of effort into making sure my lanes are okay, and then afterwards, you know, I know I'm gonna be fine. I know I'll be able to catch up and be in a good position later. But many junglers try to find a pretty good balance between putting focus on themselves and the lanes, whereas for me, it's mostly about making sure that my lanes are in a good position and then catching up myself afterwards. And I don't know, this has been a bit of a topic of criticism lately, but I don't really think it was any different in the first weeks where I was in talks for being an MVP candidate, and you know, everyone spoke so nicely about me. I think it's just that our team has been in a bit of a slump lately, and we've just not really, you know, played as well as a team as we did in the beginning. And usually if a team isn't playing up to expectations, a jungler is an easy target for blame.
Reckless, I want to ask a question, maybe not Fnatic focused, but it feels like a lot of European teams have hit a few speed bumps over the last few weeks. I mean, you just mentioned Fnatic in a slump. You guys are still in the battle for second seed, right? But we look all the way down the table and everybody's dropping games to so many different places. You know, can you speak a little bit to maybe theorizing why that's happening?
So my theory is that everyone feels like G2 is so much better that you have to like figure out differently how to play the game than you kind of currently do. So everyone's just trying to, I guess, improve or like get to their level, but on the way that comes with a couple of speed bumps, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now. Like, we obviously want to win. We're not here to get second or third or whatever people aim for in their split. We're here to win and beat G2, but to beat G2, you have to kind of not do things the usual way. So I think a lot of teams are in the same mindset where they just want to try to, I guess, figure out how to play the game differently than they normally would.
How much do you guys feel this G2 effect of trying to like dictate how the game is played? Are they really in control of the meta and people are just kind of chasing and trying to problem solve them? Or are you guys like, no, we're on the Fnatic path, Fnatic play the game this way, this is all we care about?
I don't think anyone necessarily wants to copy them. I think it's just more people are really stressed out by the fact that they're so much better. So you want to do more than you, I guess, currently do, because it seems so easy for them. They just kind of pick whatever champion and play it in whatever role, and it always works, and it always looks so clean in a way. I mean, they all obviously have games where they really run it down as well, but and troll pick and stuff. But even then, it just looks like they're so on form and so good together. And I guess everyone just kind of feels like they're not anywhere close to that. So unless they figure out something to do, they're not going to win the split. And I think most of us, at least here, are here to win the split. So the stress comes in. You have a couple of games on stage where you're not doing that well, and then it's just full panic mode. And I think a lot of teams are probably in that situation right now, especially if you're like outside of playoffs or you need a lot of circuit points to make the second place, because most people obviously expect G2 to win once again, so they go by first seed. So it's either by points or through Gauntlet, and then it's like, it's just stress from left and from right, and then it's just
I actually want to talk about one
G2
of the
chilling in the middle.
I want to talk about one of those teams with stress. Broxah, when you look at Origin, 7 wins, 9 losses. This is a team that was spring finalist, took you guys out. Rift Rivals looked pretty good, and then just fell off a cliff. Like, you know, what do you see when you look at a team like Origin and the struggles they've had now in summer?
I can very much relate to Origin because they remind me a bit of ourselves last split, where we had such a good streak all of last year, and then we go into the split and everything just falls apart. And to me, there's no doubt that Origin should be one of the best teams in the league. They have the potential to be one of the best, and they already proved that last split, but it just seems like something is not really clicking, and it's hard to see from the outside, at least from my perspective, like what exactly, if it's something about strategy, champions, players, like, I don't know, but I'm very curious to see if they actually manage to get it together here at the end of the split, or if they, you know, just fall apart here right before Worlds.
Just to put some things into perspective before you go there, Frosker, and technically speaking, Vitality, Origin, and Rogue are the front runners for the 5th and 6th spots in playoffs. It is possible for Vitality to drop out and for potentially OG and Rogue to sneak in there, you know, depending on how results go. So, you know, going into week 9, a lot of games still matter for especially those 3 teams, and then obviously the battle for the bye, which you've talked about as well.
I just want to ask if burnout's affecting. I know that coming into Summer Split, it feels like, unfortunately, the community's all looking at you guys like, you know, Worlds is around the corner. Everyone needs to be fresh for it, but I can only imagine you guys went to Worlds last year, all the way to the finals, virtually the same roster, save for a single player. You had an intense spring. You're going to have an intense summer. Week 9, you have probably one of your most important matches across from Splice. Like, it's very easy to see how this all stacks up for a team like Fnatic, who doesn't get any breaks. Like, do you guys feel it, or are you finding your momentum?
It's actually something we've been focusing a bit on recently with our sports psychologists, like trying to figure out where all players stand in terms of mental health, in terms of burnout. And well, it's no secret that after spring, all of us really wanted to make sure that summer goes well. So we've been grinding a lot and been playing a lot of League of Legends, talking a lot about League of Legends, and free time has been almost non-existent. So yeah, now we're at the point where we're kind of trying to balance that, because at Worlds we really felt it in the week leading into the final that you know, we just simply played too much, and we were at the point where thinking about League of Legends was almost too much already, because you know we had just been going at it too much. So now we are trying to actually find that balance, and I think that's something that's going to be important for every team, especially G2, who has been, you know, playing more than anyone else.
Same question, Reckless.
I mean, I want to touch on the Worlds, the finals last year. I think maybe there was a chance of burnout because we're traveling between cities, between every stage of the tournament, right? But in hindsight, I feel like we're actually almost like a little bit satisfied before the finals. We didn't really have like the same fire to win the game as I felt like we had against EDG and Cloud9. Obviously, groups was one thing as well, but groups was more, you play 3 games or 4 games on the same day, so it was just kind of like you're put up to a test as a player. But in quarters and semis, I felt like even when, for example, we dropped the first game to EDG, like there were no situations where anyone would ever think they would lose that series. But in the finals, it felt like almost before it even started, people were kind of like okay with losing. So I'm not sure how much burnout played into it, but I just wanted to mention that because that's my point of view. It's
one of those things where it's like it had never been done before. It'd been the first time on this scale of competition that a Western team had made a final. We were celebrating because we said it doesn't matter what happens, right? Like I was as a fan, as a viewer, everybody's already there, and I think it's.
I mean, it's not like we went out to celebrate or anything. It's just.
It's just that mentality.
I could feel it when we were playing the series that people weren't willing to give whatever it took to win it. It was more like. I guess everyone kind of felt like after game 1 that, I mean, maybe people thought it was lost, or maybe people thought that the best way to do it would be through me, or like to play through me. But it just didn't feel like anyone was willing to go out on a limb and say, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll play, you know, a supportive champion or a tank champion, just whatever it takes to win, right? I didn't really feel that. But going back to your burnout question, I think other than Nemesis, I mean, the rest of us have played through last year.
You guys have all been together for a very long time, a very long sprint.
If anything, I feel like this year has been more chill than last year, because last year it was spring into MSI and then summer with Rift Rivals into Worlds, into the finals. So like this year is actually pretty chill, to be honest with you. So
it helps you get a few extra years of experience to.
Yeah, exactly. I think most of us are probably fine. Maybe Tim is having a harder time, but if anything, he plays the most, and he's probably the guy that has the most fire as well when it comes to League of Legends as a game. So. I don't think he's going to have any issues with that.
Well, look, I'm going to bring us back a little bit to LEC. I really appreciate the candid discussion, but I want to put you on the spot before we move on. There are 3 potential teams fighting for 2 spots in playoffs. Origin, Vitality, Rogue. Which 2 teams get them? Who do you think, Broxer? And technically SK can as well. Production are just pinging me. Yeah.
I think.
Did you just kill SK?
I kind of did.
I think Origin and Vitality are going to make it. I think they have the most experience, and at this point, I think it just comes down to experience more than anything. It's really, really high pressure games coming up, and I think Origin and Vitality have the players to handle that and bring it home.
Do you know their schedules by?
I do. Yeah? Yes. So tell me a team, and I'll give you the games. So Vitality
does anyone have like a really hard game?
Misfits and Schalke. Rogue are playing Origin and you guys.
Yeah, so Rogue is not going to make it.
If Origin beat Rogue, Rogue are already out. SK Gaming would be the other one. They play XL as well as Origin.
So I think Origin's going to make it for sure. I don't even think people think they're really bad, but I don't think they're that bad. I think they had a couple of unlucky games on stage. Like they might as well have won the game against us, for example. It was like really random that I stole that Nash. I wasn't even aiming for the Nash. I was aiming for Jarvan and I got the Nash. It's like It's so random, but I think Origin's gonna make it. I think they're actually a pretty good team. It's just in spring I had like we were a good team in spring and we got third, right? So I feel like the competition's just gotten better, and now they're like maybe where they were supposed to be the entire time. It's just people have gotten better and they're the same maybe. But I think they're good.
I would be surprised if they don't bounce back.
It would be a hell of an upset.
And then after that, I don't know. It's a Vitality that plays crazy. Rogue that's actually pretty good, I would say. Maybe I would say Rogue, yeah.
Yeah,
but they're playing us in Origin, so it's like
it's tough, eh?
Sucks for them, I guess.
Really tough. And the Vitality have got Misfits and Schalke. So theoretically, like if they take down Misfits, if you assume Rogue go down to OG and you
No,
guys,
but Rogue can't make it because of the schedule. So
yeah, exactly, right? So look, Origin is the one unanimous decision. Let's take a look really quickly at the Kia Player of the Game leaderboard. Jankos is currently leading. He's just ahead of Broxah and then Humanoid. Important to note, in the event of ties, the player that has received the highest percentage of votes will come out on top. Broxah, you were denied Player of the Game because your bot laner played Garen. You know, how does that feel? But also, what's it like knowing that, you know, a lot of players, a lot of fans at home are voting for you for, you know, Player of the Game?
Well, it feels really nice knowing that, you know, fans have liked my games, and I know especially a lot of league games have brought me some Player of the Game, so that felt good. A bit bittersweet that I had 2 league games now and didn't get any. You know, I was hoping to at least stay even with Jankos, but I'm looking forward to evening it up next week.
All right, I love it, I love it. We just got a few more segments before we will let you guys go. We're going to be taking a look at some of the best moments from our Alienware big plays. I'll set them up, we'll watch the play, and we'll have a quick discussion. First up, XL's had plenty of highlight moments, and this week it was Mickey who stole the spotlight.
Clean pickup. Mickey now can chase. The Conqueror has been blocked.
Here comes Nemesis.
Whippo trying to push for this play, going to be pretty massive. Mickey not going to be able to grab it. The dash through. The EQ flash! He lands it! He goes through. Mickey's feeling himself. He might just find the outplay. The knockup goes through. Mickey, I can't believe it. That was clean. Yasuo, EQ, flash to extend the range, finds the knockup and finds the kill.
Oh, nice. I'm holding mid. You can hold mid, yeah. I'm shift me. Corky coming. Okay, I'm coming. I'm following Corky. I can't go. Let's catch it. Third kill. Corky here. Oh, nice. Hey, mark. Oh, Mickey coming. I'm coming. What the hell? Yeah, ult. Everyone moving top. We pushing mid.
Yeah, we're pushing mid. Get out.
That's one. You know, flash, no ulti. Nice, Mickey. You're f***ing insane.
Beautifully done.
Now they've got super greedy from Nukeduck. He almost falls. There was no ignite, it was just the grievous wounds from this. Oh, yes! That was so fine, Mickey.
I need to have nice.
They looked all in.
Oh, what the baby! You're so good. We win.
Mickey! Hey, if you tank hook, yeah?
When you watch back the plays, especially the day before when it's actually against you guys, you know, what is it like? What does it feel like watching Mickey like styling, at least in some of those moments?
Well, I'm not going to lie, that was a pretty insane Yasuo play. Obviously, it sucks a little that it happened against us, but it was really impressive. I didn't even see it, you know, full on happening in the game, so it was really cool to see it now.
Well, it's very exciting, of course. Unfortunately for XL, they have been eliminated from playoff contention. So we're going to move on to the next clip. Humanoid went full rogue in the mid lane against Origin. Fear the assassin with no master.
Quick ulti comes out, puts a fake and reveal the Akali, now trying to dash back and beat out safety. Fancy forward comes in from Humanoid, they're trying to turn the play. Oh! Is a hero! That was a monster play! Baited and outsmarted. OG bite off more than they can chew.
They cannot run here.
Nice. Looking at you.
Yeah, I will get him. I got him.
Oh, let's
Okay.
go.
I already said you take it. Guys, come down.
Yeah, Norskaren, he basically covered that one.
Yeah, right.
That's how that went.
I expect a little bit more. Finally, from the mountains of northern Norway, compliments of a Norwegian scriptwriter as well. Norskaren is ran straight into SK with a massive Rakan ultimate.
Could try and just burn this one down. Zest is still there. The barrel comes out and Zest it! Once again, he steps up. He has had an impeccable split, and now he is fighting for Splice. Look at the damage coming out from them. The Norskaren on the back line. SK can do nothing about it. Cersei steals it, and Splice take the game.
They want to finish the Elder. They go next one.
They're finishing.
Back off, Tore. We got the Elder. Kite here. Help me here.
Cut up. I'll go in 5 seconds.
We have Elder, by the way.
We can help.
Okay.
Right, Renekton.
Okay.
I'm on Corky,
Play with Saya, play with Saya, play with Saya.
I got Corky, Corky's dead.
Okay, Ash.
Okay, can we end mid? Power bot.
Mid.
Okay, nice. I'm pushing bot at the same time. Good job, guys.
It was a hype beast moment for the hype beast himself. I really love the read on waiting for the Zanya Hourglass to fall down and knowing that they try to jump on him and he's just right on top. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the whole team.
Exceptionally well done. Of course, Splice, very dramatic game. They will be playing up against Fnatic next Friday. Two huge matchups that could decide everything, both in the race for playoffs, as far as the 6th place is concerned, and that battle for Athens. We've already talked a lot about Fnatic versus Splice, as well as Origin versus Rogue. Important to note, Origin will lock playoffs with that win. Reckless, outside of your own game, which game are you most excited for next Friday?
G2, probably. Just because it's G2. I mean, no specific reason in regards of Schalke. Just I like to watch G2.
That is awesome. Broxer, where are your eyes next week?
I mean, the same match. I'm excited to see if Schalke stands any chance, since they're looking like one of the other really good teams in the league, or if G2 just smashes them.
Just want to quickly talk about Schalke very quickly before we end the show. I said in Ready Check today that they're one of the teams I feel that's a little bit undersold, a little bit underrated. There's not too many teams talking about Schalke right now. You know, how much of a dark horse are they going into best of 5s?
I feel like it's so hard to say how strong exactly they're going to be in best of 5s, because they never even had the chance to play one in the previous split. But they're also a team with a lot of experience, really strong coaching stuff, and I think it would be a mistake to underrate them. I think they're going to be pretty strong.
Reckless, how scared should European teams be of Schalke?
I personally don't like to play against them. I think they play really well around bot. Probably the best bot lane team I think we have in this league. I would say at just like knowing what to do with the waves and just interacting with the jungle. Support and jungle synergy, I think, is a big key in that team. So if anything, I mean, maybe we match up good into them, but I just don't like to play against them because I know that I'm gonna struggle a bit.
I get what you mean.
But for example, they just completely abandoned Odamne up in top. So for us, it's a pretty good matchup, right? Because we were just gonna carry that game, but I just don't like to play against him because I know that he will freeze waves and he will dive me on slow pushes and like never let me push out. It's just gonna be impossible to lane down there, and it's been the case for pretty much every game I played against him this year, I think. I even had one where I went like 0-8, and it... Like, I looked at it the other day, and I just felt like some of the deaths were just inevitable because they take my flash level 1, and then he's just always there. And it was even a different jungler, right? It's just the way they play the game. I think maybe it's something actually Dylan cooked up, but I could be wrong.
Frosker, closing thoughts before we move on.
Game I'm excited about? Oh man, you put me on the spot. I guess
was the same question 3 times in a row.
Splice versus Fnatic. Yeah, that one.
Well,
Good
there
luck,
we go.
guys.
Battle for the bye. Reckless, Broxer, I cannot thank you enough. This has been one of the most enjoyable PGLs I've had in a while, and I really appreciate your honesty and your candid responses. Congratulations on the win, and we'll see you next week. Look, across the Atlantic, the LCS playoffs are starting very, very soon with TSM taking on Clutch. After that series, you can catch our rebroadcast of the LEC. That was it from us here in Week 8. Thank you all. We'll be back next Friday for the epic conclusion of our regular season. We'll see you all then.
Yay!
Try and just burn this one down. Dusty's still there. The barrel comes out. It's after it! Once again, he steps up. He has had an impeccable split, and now he is fighting for Splice. Look at the damage coming out from them. The North Scaring on the back line. SK can do nothing about it. Cersei steals it, and Splice take the game. Here we go, Rogue. Display of talent from Rogue. They set it up, and they knock them down one by one. Schalke are decimated, and that was beautiful.
So the problem with having Frosk Urine as a gamer tag,
Medi urine doesn't sound
you can only cut the Frosk. You don't want the urine.
Nuka uses the first person execution. Here comes Cagel going forward. The Inferno Chaser on him. He needs to get in there. He needs to get in there now because Nuka is raining hell upon Jester. Mystic's going to fall as well.
Go for the
He goes Cagel. He goes for the Baron. The Cataclysm comes out, but he's done. And now Origin will secure it. They will take your lives. They'll take the Baron, and they'll look to take this game.
G2 only going to lose 1 on the back of that play. Cap's now laying down a bit more damage. Playing up there with fire here, but not Skirai under the tower. That's going to be disastrous. That's going to be the shutdown for Jankos. Leader is up now in front. That might be next on the menu. Leader could be first. The double kill coming in. Jankos might want to make it a triple, but Das will leap out to safety.
Watch
might have the package as well in the mid lane, but now they're pushing on the bottom side. They're going to steal Garen's ultimate. They're going to use it against him. Dunked down by his own ult.
Good job.
Fnatic moving into the base to find the kills, and they will end the game here, keeping themselves tied up with Splice, keeping themselves in the race for second, and ever closer to a spot in Athens.